Like there isn't a choice, but there is. And you could do the thing that's comfortable. You could do the thing that's safe. You could do the thing that doesn't challenge you. You could do this thing that just lets you stay where you're at. You don't have to change anything, and you could just be. Or you take this opportunity that's massive. I told all my friends, like, this is a once in a lifetime thing.
Welcome to the Fuel Hunt Show.
What's going on, Eagles? Welcome to the Fuel Hunt Show. I'm Joey. I'm here, joined with my cousin and co-founder, Drew. And today on the show, we have a special guest, Tim Galloway from Goodwerks. A lot I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the origins of Tim. I want to talk about the origins of Goodwerks. I want to talk about the origins of the Fuel Hunt and Goodwerks relationship. I want to talk about what it's like being at HQ every day. With me, absolutely terrible, probably.
Well, if you showed up, I'd have info for you on that, but you got to show up.
What it's like being here every day at HQ and your time in Philly. Yeah. I would get into the Few Fest, but we're going to do a whole nother episode on that. So maybe we'll touch on it a little bit, but we'll get into all the details of the Few Fest on another episode. So if you've been, for the Eagles listening and watching, if you've been living high up in your tree and you haven't been in touch with what's going on the ground, Tim and Goodwerks have moved into Fuel Hunt HQ as of, was
June
that
15th?
June 15th,
It was
yeah.
To the day, the 4-year anniversary of Goodwerks.
Super cool, man.
So that may or may not have been planned.
Super cool. Super cool. So we'll get into how that all happened. On that day, on June 15th, we both had the opportunity to do something that we used to do in our previous lives, which is move, right? Yeah. Move things, move heavy objects. And we're not talking about like weights.
Not sandbags and stuff like that.
No, we're talking about like a laser.
From your shop. 1,000-pound laser.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Drew he just happened to not be here for that.
I brought in the big guns. I brought Uncle Mark in. Uncle Mark came in. We should have Uncle Mark on the show too.
You should have Uncle Mark on the show.
That'd be amazing. But that day, I thought about that this morning actually, because we were kind of guessing. We're like, hey, look, let's put this laser on the famous freight elevator and let's all pile in. And will this elevator be able to bring us up? There is a small plaque on the back of the elevator. It says 2,000 pounds. So I think we're probably all right.
We were probably close.
We were
Close
close.
to having Uncle Mark on there.
We were close.
We were close. I think, was it just the two of us? Or were Mark and Pete on there too?
I think all four of us were on there.
So we were probably in excess of.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you got the diamond plate that was on there that stays on there. That adds a couple pounds. So probably in excess. But we got it up here.
We did.
We got it
barely,
in. And
just barely.
You're all set up. Shop looks great. You got your Trust Hard Work flag hanging.
I do.
Above the laser.
Yep.
Which we'll talk about that too. Let's start at the beginning. Origins of Tim. What was it like growing up for you? Where are you from?
Well, I'm not grown up.
Yeah.
So I can't answer that question.
I respect that answer.
Excellent.
So I'm from Michigan. I was born in Royal Oak, a suburb of Detroit. I've spent the majority of my life in Michigan. However, I've lived in Boston, lived in Seattle, lived in Columbus, Ohio. I do have a couple of interesting stories that we don't really need to get into.
From your travels, or
just from there's some like catfish involved.
Oh, jeez.
Cross country moves involved.
Oh my God.
So like there's
Well, if we have some time at the end,
we
tell
can
the catfish story.
I'm sure the community would love to hear about catfishing.
We can make an episode of that one. I mean, come on.
Yeah, probably.
But so mainly in Michigan, but I've been fortunate enough that I grew up in Michigan, like I said, and I got to spend a bunch of time with my brother who had he lived in Massachusetts, just outside of Boston.
Okay.
He had a company that would program terminals for this was I was probably like early teens. Mm-hmm. And his company would encourage. You remember the old gray Verifone credit card boxes?
Oh yeah,
you remember like the old school ones.
Uh-huh.
So we would program those and encrypt those for when states moved from paper food stamps to the electronic benefits.
Ah.
So we would program those machines and we would install them in stores all over the place.
And then they spoke right on the financial network.
Yeah, it was like old school. They had the old school dial-up modems in them, and then we had to instruct these retailers how to use them.
Yep.
So through that, I got to see decent parts of the country.
Sure.
I've traveled, like you said. One of our shared kind of shared but not shared experiences in life is like I worked as a mover for a while, which you have. I was one of their only over the road drivers.
Okay.
So I got to see a lot of the country doing that.
Remind me, were you driving a cargo truck or were you driving a 33?
Just bobtails.
Okay.
So like I didn't have my CDL. I had a chauffeur's license, so technically I couldn't drive air brakes.
Yeah.
But I may have. I may have had to dodge scales a few times.
I'm sure the time with which you could be prosecuted for that is past.
Oh yeah, way beyond. So actually, we did get shut down one night because I was behind on my logbook, and they were like, you got to shut down for 8 hours or whatever.
Yep.
And they did not give me a hard time for having a truck with air brakes, which I probably should not have been driving.
Yeah.
But ironically, I drove a truck here with air brakes.
There you go. Full circle.
Yeah.
So talking about Uncle Mark, Uncle Mark drove the truck when I worked on the moving truck. So for me, like my dad kind of handed me over to my Uncle Mark when I graduated high school. And he was kind of like, hey, look, like, I'm still on this journey of like making this dude a man, but you're going to do it in your unique way over the summer. And me, I'm like, everything's fine. Like Uncle Mark's like cool dude, like, life of the party all the time. Mm-hmm. Oh man.
Uncle Mark's different on the moving truck, huh?
Bro, I used to come home and I'm like, my own uncle doesn't love me. Mm-hmm. Like that's how bad he broke me to build me back up. So the moving truck for me was really special those years. And the funny thing is, there's a lot of members in the community that were movers too, which when I told some of my stories about moving, I was surprised how many people wrote back and they were like, I was a mover, like my time in the moving truck was awesome, blah, blah. Because you learn, like, think about it. It's like the best of both worlds. You're learning how to pick up heavy things and carry them for distance, and then you're learning how to interact with people.
Yeah.
Really.
Be part of a team.
Yep. Interacting with people during one of the most stressful events of their lives, right? So they say like death and moving are like two of the most stressful events that people, go through. So, super awesome, man.
Yeah.
So wasn't like when we started talking and then I learned that about you, it wasn't a surprise to me. Like this actually makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Like I can
totally
I understand like why I vibe with this dude, like because of that shared experience.
Because you were movers together.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like shared but not shared, like you said.
Yeah.
What if we were on the same truck together, man? That would have been.
Dude, that'd been kind of wild. I think.
Pretty rad.
Yeah.
I do much. I did local stuff.
I will say, I do give kudos to anyone who has done that because moving is fucking.
It's hard.
Like
It's
carrying like refrigerators and like even like heavy shit and like when you're the guy going backwards up the steps, like it's just.
Oh no, dude! I'd rather go backwards up the steps and be on the bottom.
Oh my god!
You got to drive. You have all the weight.
Bottom is hard.
The first couple of times you're going backwards though, like you have to learn how to walk backwards with weight, and going like that's difficult to begin with. People are like, oh, it's difficult when something's heavy and awkward, like 300-pound dresser. It's hard.
I've almost fucked my shit up a few times, like going backwards up steps, like carrying something heavy, like or even down, like because if you slip up, you just.
Well, so like when you're driving that piece up the stairs, right? You're supposed to push, right? Like you're supposed to drive. I was working with my boss at the time. I'm not going to say who it was. I was working with my boss, and we were moving this house. We had an exercise bike that we were pushing upstairs.
Yep.
And I was pushing a little too fast. He didn't communicate with me. He didn't calm anything, and like he fell onto the stairs. Like no big deal. Like he just like essentially he just took a fast seat on the stairs.
Yeah.
He got so angry. This dude had some interesting qualities.
Okay.
He got so angry. He took the handle or the base of the bike, which is like a steel bar, and he rammed it at me.
Yeah.
And of course, like I'm holding it on my chest because I'm trying to push up the stairs.
Yeah, like
and
chin
it
checked.
No, right in my mouth, dude. Oh. Busted my lip, just like blood, like coming down my face. Oh. And I'm like, he's like, you shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, bro, like you didn't tell me not to like slow down. So like whatever. Later that day, we had those super long, like those 20-foot fiberglass loading ramps. That we
the
you
walkboard.
Yeah,
the walkboard.
We're loading those in the belly boxes on the trailer.
Yeah.
And we didn't put him in at exactly the same time, and he dropped his end. His end popped up and smacked him right in the face. And so I kind of like
funny how that works out.
It took me a minute, and I had to like calm down. I'd be like, I didn't want to say anything, but he's like, I guess I deserved that for earlier. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like,
that's
it comes
funny.
back around, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot of lessons to be learned. You know, you're spending, you know, depending, like if you're over the road, you're spending a lot of time with people.
Yeah.
You're doing challenging things. I mean, we would move people to Florida regularly.
Yep.
And, you know, this was in the days of, you know, cargo shorts past the knees, you know, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, my sweat would soak through the outside of the pockets. And like, you know, big, you know, a lot of work. And it's just, you know, some of those days are, you know, you can have a 15-hour day moving, and you're constantly moving heavy stuff in and out, in and out.
A lot of people say like when they're coming up, they say, or when they're giving advice to those that are coming up and they want to build skills, they say get like a belly-to-belly sales job, right? So you learn how to communicate, you learn how to persuade, you learn how to sell, you learn how to add value to people's lives, like all that great stuff. I'm a big advocate of like work on a moving truck.
Oh, yeah,
because it's belly-to-belly sales like that, plus like all the physical labor that's involved to push yourself. And it's different than picking up a barbell, man. You're picking up a dresser. The bottom's it's solid wood. It's from the friggin' 1930s. The bottom's all splintered. The splinters are going into your hand. The guy on the other end's twerking you because he's carrying it wrong.
Yeah.
You know, then you got to drive the dude up the steps. Like there's just there's a lot of adversity on a daily basis.
There is, and you know, with the longer days you deal with that fatigue too.
Yep.
You know, you start getting into that mindset. You learn to go beyond that mindset and keep your mind about you, even though like you're not feeling so great, or like, you know, there's somebody who said about like commiserating together for sure, but you still have to get a job done. You still have to get it done well. So even though this piece is super heavy, you still have to get it through the doorway without thrashing the doorway. You still have to communicate with the people like, hey, this is a task we have to do. This is how we need to do it. So there's a lot of lessons.
You gotta stay sharp. You're tired. You still can't drop stuff. I mean, we used to get paid at the end of the job. Like, yes, there was a deposit in the beginning, but like the customer wrote the check at the end. You know what I mean? So, you know, as a company man, like, you know, I'm wanting to make sure that we're delivering on the promise that, you know, we made as employees. Like we've got to do a great job from start to finish, like you're saying, so we can get that check at the end. Yeah,
you don't want to be making those 10 o'clock house calls trying to fix somebody's scraped wood floors.
Oh man, my uncle put me to work so many times because you know, from childhood, like I've always been interested in art. You know, I consider myself an artist. Was I ever like a really like amazing painter? No.
But those hardwood floors, I could fix those up.
My uncle put me to work between hardwood floors and walls. Because, you know, obviously everybody's got the paint in their basement. You know, that's where, after the house gets finished, the paint goes in the basement or painted or whatever. He'd be like, hit the basement. You know what I mean? There's some, you know, we had a little box, like a mover specialty box that had like, you know, putty in it and almond sticks and like all sorts of like, you know, fix the furniture, fix the walls and stuff. He used to put me to work, man. He used to put me to work. I was like home remodeler, dude. I'd drive the dressers through the wall and then I'd have to patch the wall and paint it. The same day. Yeah. All right, so you did some moving around the country. Michigan raised though for the most part, right?
Yeah. So I've had all sorts of different jobs. I fell in love with photography when I was in like, you know, early 2000s. Which who hasn't at some point in their life? Who hasn't gone, wow, like, you know, there is something really magical about making photos. Especially when I learned on film. So it wasn't this instant gratification. It was being mindful of the photos that you're making, and then you have to wait and figure out like, what did I get?
For sure.
I still have one of the very first contact sheets from my 35 millimeter that I've ever made.
Nice.
So fell in love with that, and then I decided that I wanted to pursue that. So I did, and I made photos for years and years before I got work as a professional. So I was a photojournalist for 10 years or so in the Metro Detroit area. My major clients were like the Detroit Free Press, Detroit News. Toward the end of my career, I mean, I built that client base up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I was working for like New York Times, LA Times, Chicago Tribune, Associated Press, Al Jazeera America, ESPN the magazine.
Sure.
So like I was getting, you know, local and national clients and stuff, and like that was going pretty well.
Yeah.
And then 2020 happened. So, and I wasn't in like tight enough with the rotation that I had as a freelancer, so I wasn't able to get a lot of access. Access was like really shutting down. People were afraid. Nobody wanted to expose themselves to anybody else. Not to, you know, downplay the significance of you know, being sick and people who got, you know, who were like fatally ill and that stuff, because that did happen. But people were afraid. and all of the commentary on it, all of the news on it, and everything was getting to people, and they got afraid real fast.
Yeah. So the well, not necessarily. I mean, your network, the well,
it didn't dry up. It got shut off. It got closed over.
Got closed over. Yeah.
So it wasn't that the well was dry, but it was that it was blockaded.
Yeah.
So my career had been kind of dwindling. So I had tried doing a headshot studio, like a portrait studio.
Yep.
That failed. Just because like what I was charging. And for what I was delivering, I felt was appropriate, but in the area that I was in, there was no real support for it.
Sure.
I tried doing like part of like one of the, it's not a pyramid or Ponzi scheme, but like one of those kind of like coaching groups that also offers referral and stuff like that. So I tried doing that. That didn't work.
Sure.
So I just I tried to change angles a few times. So then once 2020 hit, like that was the last nail.
Yeah, I got you.
It was done.
So you were changing angles before 2020, or
I was changing angles, but I was in the same arena.
okay.
Photography.
Yeah. So I was still trying to work on like, okay, like can I shift to commercial? Can I shift to headshots? Can I shift to anything but
Education?
journalism? Something like that. Actually, for a long time, ironically enough, I had a list. So I had these big pieces of paper that I wrote. I'm like, man, like these are the clients that I want.
Yeah.
And on there I have like Rev Gear, Sanibel, Shoyo Roll, like all these, Origin, Combat Corner, Kings. Like
I'm sure Fuel Will Hunt would have been on the list if we were around.
it would have been.
No.
It would have been, and I've actually thought about that a few times since I've been here.
Yeah.
And it's like whether it was like this role or my other role, like there would have been a connection.
Yeah.
So that was something that I've kind of had a laugh at.
That's it's something I call book of proof. And I got that term from a book, but like it's funny how you put those things out there, and if you're aware enough to reflect on your past and where you are presently, you see those connections.
Yeah.
And it's wild.
It's super. It's crazy.
Your higher power, the universe, whatever it is, it's listening and it's conspiring to make the things true that you're, I believe, especially writing down.
So, I think it sounds woo-woo to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right?
Until it's not.
Until it's not. So I definitely think that the universe conspires.
Yeah.
And whether or not that's the universe doing it, or whether that's you shifting your mindset and what you're paying attention to, whether or not that's a vibrational thing where vibrations attract vibrations, whatever pathway you want to go down. If you want to call it faith, if you want to call it religion, if you want to call it like a higher being, whatever it happens to be, I think that what you're seeking, you come to find.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's just like I think that eventually, had Fuel Hunt been either more prominent or on that in that time, like that would have been on the list for sure.
I'm fresh off rereading The Secret, so I'm 100% here for.
So you're in
first and the woo woo. So we'll just leave it at that.
You make such a great point, and we've said it. How many times have we said it on? We've probably said it 25 times on the past 20 episodes. Everything sounds woo woo or everything sounds cliche till it's not. It's such.
And there are specific moments in your life too where things come full circle and it hits you, like maybe when you came in here the first day and you're with us, but it's like where you're like, damn, I prayed for this. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I always hoped would happen.
Here's an interesting story that happened to me since I've been here.
Yeah.
So like I've had signs since I've been here. Like I know that I'm in the right place.
We text back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
Like if there's one common phrase that you've texted me since we've become friends and since you've moved here, it's a sign that I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
Like this is the right place.
So I moved into this building in lovely Port Richmond.
Yes.
It's up and coming area.
Is that what Joey told you when you were looking?
Whatever.
Your building's really nice. Your unit's great.
Yeah,
everything,
it is.
But
So I move in and I'm having a difficult time getting my mail. And there's issues with getting through the security system for the mail carriers, getting into the mail room and delivering mail. So I'm kind of like, well, I'll do my order stuff, whatever. I'm kind of like, this is like when I first got in. So the mail carriers finally get in, and I get this stack of junk mail. And I'm like, okay, fine. Like, but it's kind of weird because like we're the first tenants of this building. Like all these units are new. We have when I got there, the building was only approximately 40 to 50% occupied. So I'm going through the stack, and I see something that's like I was kind of strange. So the building that we're in now is part of the Globe Dye Works building, right? It's like a
HQ.
Yeah,
Yes.
HQ is in the Globe Dye Works building. So I was going through this junk mail at my place, and there's an address, my specific unit, and there's a company called Emerald Dye Works at my unit.
Yeah.
Like with my unit number, like everything. And I was like, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
And earlier I had been going through the building, and I noticed that if there was a black tumbler in the deadbolts on these units, they were empty. So I was going and like looking in these units just to appease my curiosity. I'm like, what do these other spaces look like?
Yeah.
And I had looked at like the blueprints and like the floor plans of all these units before I chose one. I spent hours looking at them, like making sure that I was like, if I'm gonna be paying what I'm paying to live here, like I want a place where I can go home, and like I'm home and like I can chill and I'm happy with where I'm at when I'm not here.
For sure.
And all of them, I've just like there's maybe like one or two that I went into, and I went into like maybe like a dozen of them, and I was kind of like no, like, and I was like I'm in like the unit that I'm in is the unit that I'm in, and like I'm supposed to be there. And I have this is another like really small silly thing, man. I have this big canvas of Marcus Aurelius in my place. Like I love the Stoics, man. Like Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Daily Stoic. Like I'm big in like I try to read the Stoic every day. It's definitely benefited my mind space, my head space, my mindset. So I try to practice these things, and of course they're a practice. So we're always working on it, right? That's why they call it a practice. So I have this canvas that I hung up, and the first time I hung it, it fell because I tried using like command strips, and it didn't work.
Get you every time. Dude.
So I was like, all right, fine. So I finally it's in like a brick. The wall's brick. So like I just got a concrete. Yep, exactly. And I hung it, like just kind of measured it, figured out where I wanted it to be, and I was like, okay, it looks good. One day I was doing some mobility, and I look, and there's like a black line of paint that goes on the brick. And then it lines up. I never noticed it. It lines up perfectly with like a black edge that goes into the canvas. So it's like it's really silly, and like you can look at it like it's a coincidence, whatever.
Yep.
But it's like
I'm in
the right spot.
Yeah.
That's where it's supposed to be, and like I noticed it. And
symbol of alignment.
It's woo woo, but man, it's like. Yeah. And somebody could take that as like whatever, but I choose to take it as like, hey, this is a confirmation of where I'm at.
Exactly. I mean, that's the whole thing with the woo-woo stuff. Like everybody will beat it down. No, that's woo-woo. That's what. Well, what's the alternative? To think that you're just careening without any control.
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Also, you have to like take really like consider the source.
Yeah.
And really take a look at like the people who want to disparage and talk negatively on that.
Yeah.
They generally do that with so many, if not all, other aspects of their life.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, like just let people go and like let them do what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
And it's like we choose to have this outlook, and it's so like once you like get there, it's so thoroughly beneficial to everything in your life.
Agreed. And I think probably I speak for all of us. The people that are living lives that I aspire to live, they all think that way.
Yeah.
They're choosing to see alignment instead of anxiety in their current situations. So, definitely not woo-woo to me, man. I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Drew wants to say something.
Yeah, go.
He's been queuing himself up.
I was going to say, just to...
I feel like we're so close here in our
just
seating arrangement, but I still didn't feel that you wanted to say something, so I'm sorry.
To piggyback on that, a rule of thumb I have for myself is just not to take advice from people that aren't in the exact situation that I want to be in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
But you did actually just say that exact thing. And
I mean, that's the thing. Like, people, like my book of proof thing, and that's a concept that I got from a law of attraction book, one of my favorite books on law of attraction by Michael Lassier. People wreck on me for that. Like, when I see one of these connections, I write it down. And people are like, all this like universe stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but what's the alternative? Like me just believing that I'm just careening on this rock with no control and no purpose? Like I'd rather see the purpose in my days and see what's connecting so I can follow that thread and do more of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Wreck on me just doesn't work. I would rather you throw $1 in the fucking bucket.
I know, man.
Wreck on me just does not.
I know.
It does not flow.
Like my censor. Let's talk about censorship. No, let's not. Yeah, it's true. Like my self censorship is diluting my personality.
I also have a similar practice that I recommend to anyone who wants to experience the power of the law of attraction. But every morning I write up in my journal like I am healthy, I am strong, like all the things I want to be and then want to become, and I act as if I have them already rather than I am becoming.
Yeah.
You be what you want to attract,
And
it some days it sucks because you ain't it yet.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's where this whole like, I feel like this whole like, I don't like the term or the phrase, this fake it till you make it, because that's not what it is.
No.
You're being what you want to attract. You're not faking anything. You're being what you want to attract. And some days it sucks because it never happens on your timeline.
But there is the thing.
But it happens.
That is the one important thing. Sorry, not to cut you off, Tim, but having done all this and even read things on like stoicism and attraction, The Secret, etc. Like you said, they don't always happen on your timeline or exactly. It's not. You don't say I'm driving a Ferrari and then you drive a Ferrari. Like the path to the Ferrari might be riddled with hurdles and eating glass and just climbing mountains, but eventually you get there, and that's how the law of attraction works. It doesn't necessarily work. You get it right away.
You either get there, or in the process of the eating glass, climbing mountains, jumping hurdles, climbing out of holes, everything, you realize that you wanted something different than the Ferrari. So then you still don't lose, you know?
I had something that was like right there, and it just kind of just.
It's all right. We got some time. We got some
I'll
time.
cut you off, Tim.
So
That's my bad.
one of my practices is daily gratitude. I start and finish every day with gratitude. I have like in my daily notebook. Some days, like of course I miss it sometimes, but most days, and it's simple, man. Like it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be these like grandiose things where like they're like it doesn't have to be big, man. It's like I'm alive.
Yeah.
I'm taking breath. There's sunshine.
Yep.
I have hot coffee. Like I have a quiet morning.
What
Like
is coffee?
it's having like these things that when you recognize that you have so much to be grateful for, it changes everything in your pathway and in your vision. And it even allows you to be grateful for the struggle that you have. Like this coming here has been exceedingly challenging.
Yeah.
I moved 600 miles from where I was. I ended a relationship that I was in for a long period of time, which was exceedingly hard. And I love her, but it wasn't working, and it didn't. I was in a place where I felt and feel like it was an unsalvageable position. So that was also exceedingly challenging. I haven't been on my own for, I don't know, like a decade, something like that, So it's been very scary. And, that's anybody who says it wouldn't be, I'm sorry, is full of shit. It's full of shit.
Yep.
But, there's other stuff coming that I know is going to be really difficult to do. And I have tasks that are coming that I know are going to be really difficult and really uncomfortable to do.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
Because without that struggle, without that uncertainty, without the risk, there's no growth.
You'd stay the same.
It's stagnancy. Like you don't allow yourself the opportunity to grow, to improve. And speaking to the point of like The Secret, the biggest thing that I think people make a mistake on with that is they think that when you say, I'm going to manifest these things in my life, like manifest is like a big, it's one of those words where it's like, oh man, you're going to manifest that, huh?
Sure.
It's like, yeah, but what people don't get is that the thing in manifesting things in your life is not just the mindset of like, hey, like I'm going to get there or I will get there. Man, Ferrari, no thanks. Audi RS6, yes, please. So that'll happen. However, the manifesting isn't just thinking and being in the mindset of I'm there or I'm going to get there. It's the work.
Doing the work.
It's using that mindset, that mentality to say, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. because that's what gets us there.
Every guru you'll see on the internet that sells you their manifestation course, it's stars and space and crystal balls and all this. The reality of it is, like, manifestation is really fucking messy because there is a ton of work that needs to be done. And the hardest thing is keeping that mindset while you're doing all that messy work. It is super difficult. Super difficult.
One thing I want to mention, I talked to Brianna about this the other day, but are you guys familiar with Johnny Gaudreau, the hockey player that just died? He's like one of the best hockey players. He's from our area, but perfect. Like, this guy had it all, right? He, beautiful family, top of the league in the NHL, one of the best guys. Just signed a huge contract, millions of dollars. And Tim reminded me of it when he said he's just grateful to be alive, is because you need to be equally as grateful for just waking up today, because you're in this is the game. Like, you're playing, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we have another chance. And he didn't get another chance. But like, a lot of people would look at him and say, oh, this guy had the perfect life. But now he has nothing. It's gone.
You know, there's, since moving here, like, I've lived in Detroit, like Detroit proper, in some areas of Detroit that were very unsavory. So like, I've lived in some areas that, you know, are similar to where I'm living, where the shop is, where the HQ is. And if anybody has listened to like my previous podcast or knows anything about Philadelphia, there's a big opioid epidemic going on in the neighborhood that you grew up in. You know, and there's a lot of folks who are really in a bad way, big time. I mean, we saw, you know, whenever we go out, we see them. When we went on our ruck, we saw them, you know, and it's, man, you're a breath away from that. Yeah, like, it could happen to any of us. Yeah, and you know, I'm fortunate that I get to wake up in a nice bed in a place that's climate controlled, and you know, like, there's so many things that, like, I go to my bathroom and I hit the tap and water comes out. Yeah, I can take a hot shower when I want to. You know, I can get drinkable water. There's so many things that, like, I have a roof over my head. I don't have to survive the elements. Like, there's so many things that if you just stop and like take a breath and you figure out, like, hey man, like, I can be grateful for all of this. Yeah. That it translates to everything. To everything, to your struggles, to the things that have, like, gone wrong. Like, everything, like, you know, we can get cliche, right? And we can go with the everything happens for a reason. But there's truth to it. And if you learn to see that and recognize that, then you go, oh, you know what, maybe if I apply that to now, then my later, if I'm lucky enough to have it, will benefit from that. Yeah, for sure. So let's rewind a little bit here. So 2020 happens. Yep. Commercial photojournalism for you. Kaput, right? There's a lot going on in the world, but like, we're not going to get into all that stuff. Yep. That is, so we're talking origins of Tim. We've kind of checked that box, right? So let's get into the origins of Goodwerks. So I'm assuming that in and around that time, Goodwerks was born. It was, right? Yeah. So, and before we tell the story, let's just, for those that have been living high, I'm not saying under a rock, because eagles live. On the branches. High in the tree, in the branches. What is Goodwerks? What is your company? So Goodwerks, it's Goodwerks with an E. There's also O's in there, but the E-R-K-S. Goodwerks is, I make handmade EDC gear. So my primary product is the boogie bag. Man, the way I'm stumbling over this, you'd figure like I have no idea what I'm talking about. No, we got some people coming in. In HQ, so it threw me off. Some very locally famous people. It's very distracting. Celebs just walked in. If I do it wrong, I'm gonna get pounded. I make EDC gear. I've been mainly by myself for 4 years. It's my flagship product currently is called the Boogie Bag. It's an EDC hip pack that is, I hate saying this because it's gonna get me in trouble at some point. You gonna say the F word? No. Oh, okay. Fuck no. But it's a very hard use bag that I would say is quote unquote indestructible. There we go. When I say that, I say that with the fine print of with normal use. I want to say it's bomb proof. I'm just going to go on the record and say it's bomb proof. So that's
does
my
it
main.
Have a lifetime guarantee on it?
So I have like a limited warranty on it. So it's a case by case issue. So if somebody has some sort of problem that I created in the manufacturing of it, I'll either replace or repair it depending on what it is. I've had 0 people take me up on that.
And whereas some people in your community use them for practical purposes and
EDC
fashion purpose
stuff.
and fashion purposes, practical purposes. There are many members of your community that have literally put these things through
Through the ringer.
Yeah, through the ringer, through trials.
Yeah. So the history of Goodwerks is I was connected with the rucking community. I worked for as a photographer. I worked for the backpack company that puts on these ruck-based endurance events, and through that, and I'd been part of that community for a decade. So through one of their co-leaders was Caitlin. She was influential in and crucial to the growth of Goodwerks, especially in the early days. So I was connected in this rucking community, and for years and years, they had been asking for a hip pack that was never delivered on.
Sure.
So 2020 happened. Instead of like sitting on my hands and waiting for a government check to come in, I said, hey, what can I do? So I love gear, man. Like I love backpacks. I love organizers. I love knives. I love guns. I like stuff. And I think about stuff critically quite often. And I say, hey, what could make this better? Or like, I don't like this about something, I want to make this better. So I started thinking like, maybe I could make some pouches or something. Like, I'll try it. So my mom and we did some research, and she bought me my first sewing machine.
Amazing.
You had no idea how to ever.
I had never touched a sewing machine before 2020.
Yeah, you had.
That's crazy.
Like we talked about, you had many jobs, right? You had many jobs growing up,
Tons of
coming
jobs,
up.
yep.
I'll say coming up because you haven't grown up yet, right? You had many jobs, but none of them involved
Zero
sewing.
None.
So you never touched a sewing machine until 4 years ago.
Correct.
Amazing.
Wow.
Now,
So
seeing the product,
Wild.
Isn't it?
So thank you.
Yeah.
I got my first, it was like a domestic sewing machine, just like you would go to like Joann and buy. Like it wasn't from there. It was like we did some research and we found a heavier duty one that was made to sew denim.
Sure.
So it had like a metal shaft in it, so that way like the standard parts that break in them weren't plastic.
Do you have a story behind where it came from, or did you just get it from like a store?
No, it was just my
from
mom did research.
Mom always
comes
comes
through.
in clutch, dude.
So
mom comes through.
my mom's like
they're very
my mom does
solid.
embroidery, so like she has these monster like 12-16 needle embroidery machines and stuff.
Yeah.
So she had a little experience in that. So she was doing research for me, and then she bought it for me.
Amazing.
So I went to YouTube University. So I got the machine in May, late April. I think it was like late April or early May of 2020.
Yep.
And then I launched Goodwerks on June 15th of 2020. So I essentially was just in my basement with my iPad and the sewing machine and fabric I bought from Joann and a pair of scissors. And then just I went to work, and that was it.
Do you
It was
have the
just
first bag that Goodwerks ever made?
No, man. I have like a bin of garbage that's like fabric that's stitched together.
Yeah.
But I don't have I do have one of the first boogie bags here.
But that was probably a pretty solid product, though.
Sure.
Would I
Tim
see
has
it?
very high standards.
Would I see it and be like, oh, this is
We'll
pretty?
find out.
We're similar
find
in,
out.
in
You
that
might have to go
regard.
get.
Yeah.
Do you know where it is right now?
Yeah, I do, but we can find out later. we can look at that later. But yeah, so I started making basic pouches, just like square
like
zipper
a zippered-
pouches. Yeah, just like a
zippered
basic
pouch.
zip pouch.
Yep.
And I had a product called I have a product called the Ripcord ruck straps. So it's so you don't get sausage fingers when you ruck. You just put them on the molly of your shoulder straps. So Steel City Ruck Club made up 30 to 40% of all my sales.
Wow.
So they were buying that stuff up, and I became more and more comfortable with building this gear. And I was like, I can make a hip pack. I can figure this out.
Yeah.
So I got my graph paper, man. When I was a kid, my brother and my sister instilled in me like, hey, if you want to build something, they had like a house that was outside of Detroit, and they had like a barn and a pond and all that stuff. So if I ever wanted to build something, I had to sketch it first. I couldn't just go build something. They were like, you need to have a plan.
Yeah.
So I was used
Roll of
to
the few.
No plan, no progress.
and I rarely have a plan, guys. So I got the graph paper out,
Yeah.
and just started drawing. And I came up with something. I sewed it. It was a disaster. Then I sewed it again and again and again and again and again, and I made who knows how many iterations of it. Then I finally had something like, hey, this is like okay, like this is doable.
Yeah.
So
How many like we'll call it viable product. How many iterations do you think you had to go through to get to that like viable product?
I can't even
roughly?
tell you.
Yeah,
I mean,
countless.
that was like 4 years ago. I'm on the third iteration of the Boogie Bag now. I'm on the Mark III. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Just
Couldn't even
and
count.
just like poorly sewn, not measured properly. Like there's a lot to it. Building this stuff is very similar to like woodworking.
Yep.
Where it's like if something is off a little bit, it can be off a lot on the other end. So you have to make sure that it's all like set up and built properly.
I've built a bag, or at least a part of a bag with you.
Yep.
So I knew you had a high level of attention to detail. I knew you're very particular and put a
very.
lot of heart into what you make. But like actually going through a part of the process with you gave me a very good understanding of just how much you love what you do and how much heart you put into what you make for other people.
Yeah, it's really important to me to make sure that, like, look, they're not all perfect, right? Like, I had to let a lot of that go as I progress with my business because I had to learn that, hey, look, if this is off an eighth of an inch, it's still saleable.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's still
And
functional.
it doesn't compromise
it's still
it
operable.
doesn't
Correct.
compromise the
Yeah.
capability of it or the
Correct.
durability of it.
With that
Right.
being said, like how long? You told me this already, but how long does one bag take to make?
I don't know. So it's a super common question. So it's good that you asked that because you're a top 25 show.
Yeah. Actually, it could be higher than that now. I need to update
Let's
that
hope.
stats. Yeah, I need
So,
to update stats.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea how long it takes. So I went from that original sewing machine, that domestic machine. I got like a kind of like a mid-tier industrial machine, which
Sure.
wasn't, and that was like 4 to 6 months after I started Goodwerks. Like I soon realized that going through the materials that I had, this little machine couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So then I had some help and I got a semi-industrial machine. I outworked that in like 2 or 3 months. Then I got a proper industrial machine.
Yeah.
So now I have five machines. How many do I have? I think five or six machines. And they're all like standard industrial sewing machines. And I
Yeah.
also have a laser cutter. So the laser cutter changed a lot for me. And that enabled me to have super precise cuts. It saved a ton of time because
And more
everything.
scissors. Well, not for the panels. at
Yeah,
least.
so I did everything with I had a template made. There was a glass shop that was near my old place, and I said, "Can you cut acrylic?" And they were like, "Yes." So I went and I had an acrylic template made, and then I used a rotary cutter for all my pieces. So I would trace everything with the rotary cutter, everything by hand. It would take me days and days to cut.
Yeah.
So I got the laser, and I got the one that I did. It was the biggest laser I could possibly get that would fit through a doorway. Because I can pull an entire roll of fabric onto it without having to cut the fabric before putting it on the machine. So save time, and it's like way more efficient. So that changed a lot.
Yeah.
That enabled me to cut faster, cut perfectly accurate pieces, so that way I could repeat. Because if you don't have a good foundation to what you're building, the repeatability is going to be poor.
Yep.
So with the laser, every piece is cut the same. So that means as I'm sewing it, I can sew it exactly the same or as close to it as possible.
Systems.
Correct. And the attention to detail comes in big time. And one of the most important things that I learned as a photojournalist, and that has stuck with me, that I think really transcends a lot of things in life. One of the editors, her name was Mary Schrader. She was amazing. She was one of Detroit's best sports photographers. She was incredible, and she was forgive me, but she was the old battle axe of the photo room, man.
Sure.
And she would give it to you straight. Like I'd go shoot an assignment, and she'd be like, "This is nothing but backs and asses. I don't care about this. Like you need to do better." And she would like give it to you straight and tell you what you needed to do to improve, and that's how you got better. One thing that she taught me was eliminate variables. Before you go into any situation, eliminate variables. So as a photographer, that looks like, okay, am I shooting low light? So I need to adjust my ISO. What am I going to be shooting? Am I going to be shooting like groups of people or individuals? So I can adjust my aperture and my shutter speed and like all these things that you can adjust. Like, What kind of light are we going to be under? Like, so you're adjusting all of these things before you even step in. So it's similar to, you know, building this stuff. I mean, that stuff can be transferable to any aspect of life.
Oh, for sure.
So when I have a better foundation,
Yep.
I can build better product, and I can repeat it
Sure.
more easily and more frequently. So yeah, attention to detail is highly important.
So you're building out this entire Goodwerks workshop in your basement.
Yeah.
I mean, the laser cutter that you're talking about is the one we referred to in the beginning
Yes.
of the show.
Yes.
Over 1,000 pounds.
Yes.
You know, you're. I don't think you lived in a 20,000 square foot mansion.
No.
So you had a normal home with
Yeah.
normal sized doorways
Yes.
and everything.
Yes.
Getting that thing. So you're building this. You're amassing all these machines,
Yes.
all this experience, and building this in a basement.
Yes.
So you reach a point where you're like, you're gonna outgrow it,
So
or maybe you did.
I did, and I think I had outgrown it for a period of time before actually moving, and I'm so incredibly grateful, and I'm so fortunate that I have the support that I do, and
Yeah.
it's wild to think that people are clamoring for things that I build.
Yeah.
And when I say clamor, like generally when I have, I don't do drops any longer because I really dislike drop culture. No offense, guys.
Yeah.
We're not really
A lot
in it.
taken.
We're not really in
Good, take it. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
fight you. So I'm really like anti-drop culture. However, that's kind of how my business is approached because I can only make so much. So I've had help. Our mutual friend Karen has been helping me out. She's been amazing. And one of the goals of being here is to add more hands so we can get more product made and more variety in product. So I think that I had outgrown that space before. So people, when I sell products, especially the boogie bags, they go in minutes. The largest and fastest, the largest restock that I had done was 52 bags, and they had sold in 52 seconds. So they go quick.
Yeah.
And it has gotten to the point where a lot of people are online trying to get my stuff, and they get so upset that they can't get it that they start getting volatile. And hey, if they're gonna do that, they're gonna do that. It only helps me. Like I can tell when there's a dumpster fire because every time it happens, my follower count goes up and my my newsletter subscription go up. So like I'm here for it.
Yeah,
like if they want to do that, they can please do that.
Sure.
So I had been to that point for
Yeah.
a while.
One of the items that you had in the workshop, tons of machines, tons of hard work, obviously in the shop, was our Trust Hard Work flag. So that's kind of the, I don't know if I want to call it linchpin. Yeah,
The link,
adhesive, the link, you know?
Yeah.
As I talk with my hands, if you're not watching on YouTube, you can't see that, but it's me making like a link in a chain. That is the thing
The thing.
that brought us together.
Yeah, the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that flag is very important to me.
Yep.
That was given to me by my friend Kaylin, who I mentioned earlier, who is one of the co-leaders of the Steel Cedar Ruck Club. She's a very close friend of mine, and she helped me build Goodwerks big time. And like she's responsible for a lot of the growth.
Yep.
She was my ambassador for a period of time, and she's always been like super supportive. And whether it was like providing critical feedback, I don't want to say pushing the gear, but like, going out with the gear, testing it. I mean, she has a bag. It was one of the first bags built that's been through hundreds and hundreds of hours of endurance events. So for Christmas in Christmas 21, I think it was, I got a package in the mail, and it was a flag, and it was a blacked out flag that says Trust Hard Work. And I'm like, this is amazing. This resonates with me.
Yeah.
Like, this is important to me.
Sure.
So like I hung that flag in my shop, and like it was sent to me anonymously at first.
Okay.
But then I figured out like, okay, it's
Who
your
it
fault.
was.
Like this is you. And then of course, like anything else, like I'm on social. I had to take a picture of it and post it on social.
Yeah.
Tagged you guys, and then we started talking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it was light, it was just like, cool, thanks for flying with us, eagle emoji.
Yeah.
Like cool,
Sure.
like standard response, like perfect.
Yep.
And then it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because like, and I started, like, I had known a few will hunt. So through Caitlin, actually, so she had the comfort patch on one of her boogies. Like, I have a photo of it, and like that's kind of, and I had seen them before.
Yep.
And in the rucking community, that's kind of like, well, we like patches.
Yep.
So like that was there. So we had seen that, and I'd known about that, and then it just went from there. I was like, man,
Well, first I want to thank Caitlin for gifting you the flag and spreading the View Hunt movement and the mission. So
absolutely. Yeah, and unbeknownst to us, like, I don't know if we knew that our patches were making it into that ruck club and how they were being used and what they meant to people at the time.
Yeah.
You know, now we do. But yeah, it seems like it was just kind of casual for a little while. And then when did you and I start talking? So this was 23, maybe?
I do feel like I reach out because I wanted about doing a hip pack.
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah,
that?
we
Like,
had
years ago.
spoken. I can't remember precisely like what had happened.
So we were back
But
and forth.
we've been back and
years.
forth a little bit. I think you know what I did too is I remember this specifically because I just gotten some really good tacos and I was sitting in the parking lot at this one of my favorite taco joint back in Michigan. I sent a message because I had seen that you guys were doing a promo for a ruck.
Yeah.
And I sent a message and I was like, hey, what do I have to do to like get Goodwerks and Fuel Hunt? And they were like, you know, one of you was like, can you do like 150 or 200 bags? I'm like, holy shit. I was like, holy shit. I was like, I don't know about that. Maybe like 50?
Well, that kind of started the conversation, though,
for
because
sure,
then I remember us talking about it. Then we spoke, and then it kind of got me curious. And I think that was, and then you gave me some insight into like the inner workings of Goodwerks. And
like how ignorant I was. Like, I don't know, dude. They can't do 150 bags. I don't know why.
It's like, you know, if you're, I think a lot of people don't understand that it's until recently just been me. You know, I would get messages all the time like, hey guys.
Plus, we have the mindset of like, if you're doing 60, what's different? Just do 120. Like,
no big deal.
We have that anything's possible type of mindset,
and it is,
which you do too.
And
but
it is.
You see what
it is, but there are sometimes constraints.
We weren't trying to be ignorant.
No, not at all, not at all. And like, and that's, I don't expect anything from anybody, man. So it's like it's normal for me to get, hey guys, can you do this?
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, well,
me. You have that post on your account. It's like, meet the team.
Yeah.
And it's like, Tim, I do this, Tim. Dude, meet Tim.
Yeah.
But that question started the conversation because it got me curious into the inner workings of what you were doing. We were in the middle of our own, we're at the tail end of our own transition to Made in the USA.
Yep.
For, you know, all of our gear. It got me curious. And I think that's where that first connection between you and I by voice started to happen. And my offer to you, like, hey, look, like, now I understand why you can only do 50 at the moment. If there's anything I can do to help you.
Yeah. And that offer was, you know, it was kind of open, but I don't think that it was, not in the manner in which we're sitting here today.
I mean, I feel like we talked about like us having some additional space at HQ and stuff, but I don't.
Yeah, it was.
I feel
it
like
was
that
space. It was. Hey, you know, can like, you know, do you need or want warehousing?
Yeah.
Do you need or want? Can you take advantage of our shipping?
Or,
you know, stuff like that. And you know, and I remember having a conversation with Caitlin actually about that conversation that you and I had.
Yeah.
And I was like. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, is this like, I'm talking with Joey from Fuel Hunt. Like, really? Like, is this happening? Like this is crazy. And I was like, this is just kind of wild. So then I think that was in like November of last year, in that time frame.
Yeah,
I think it was around November.
Yep.
And I was like, and earlier this year, I had been thinking about it, and I was just kind of like, you know, well, what can, you know, like maybe I can take him up on that. Like maybe it's like it's time, man. Like. Like, things here aren't ideal. I don't think that they're to the point where they'll be salvageable. This is going to be a point in which is like, it's scary and it's risky, but I think it's time to jump. Yeah. So then, I mean, I sent you a message and was like,
hey, remember that offer?
I'm going to call you up on that. And
then things kind of accelerated pretty quick. I would say.
Yeah.
Probably quicker if I was more responsive. But
No, I don't think
yeah.
so. I think that I trust in the timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about timing, right?
Yeah.
I trust
If
in
I
the
was
timing.
quicker, move-in date probably
It wouldn't have been on the
an
anniversary.
So
But like I trust the timeline. Like I'm not. I need to work on my focus and diligence and my discipline with time. However, with that, I trust how things work as they work. So I came out in, what was it? Was it April?
yes.
I think I came out in April or early May, something like that. We had some really good barbecue. Dude, I was really, like, I wasn't surprised,
Yeah.
but it kind of took me a moment to like process the fact that like we met at like 9:45 and then it was like 2:30.
Yeah.
Like in a blink.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, like
We're
this
just
is
kicking it, man.
yeah, it
We're
was
just kicking it.
easy. It was fluid. And that said a lot. Like and I'm big on the feelings and vibes that I get with people. Like I'm big on that. And if I feel like at all, like if I have to make myself small or if I get tense around people, like I eliminate it now.
Yeah.
Like I don't have room or space for that.
For sure.
So it's like I won't allow myself to do that, but I felt open. And like our conversation was everything.
Yeah.
It was work. It was fuel
yeah.
hunt. It was Goodwerks. It was barbecue. It was jujitsu. It was everything.
It was, and it had to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It had to be.
And vibrations are real. Like they're a real
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Like that is like no, like there's not like the science behind that. But I just posted about this yesterday. Like we've been as a company and a brand like overlooked for the past however many years. Like every other brand grows faster, does like gets better endorsements, whatever. But everyone that, and my belief is that everyone that has worked with us or around us or with us cannot say anything poorly about us because we've always done two things, like work hard and serve others and just be good people. You know what I mean? And we surround ourselves with other people doing the same.
Yep.
So a lot of times when we're in those situations, and maybe why you felt that, like that's why those vibrations feel that way,
Yeah.
because we truly put out what we want to get back.
Yeah, and like one of the things. So one of my favorite shirts from you guys has always been the Heart Hands Hard Work shirt. That's
that
always
one.
been one of my favorite shirts.
Keep telling Joey that one has to come
And,
back.
Yeah, I know.
We need brick by brick, guys.
Yeah.
We,
Built the last.
we need brick by brick. We need that one back, please.
Yeah.
Preferably like nice
Current-
black
with its current design.
Are you saying in black?
shirt with like
See,
red.
Brick.
This is already, I mean, and again, please comment, whatever. Like,
YouTube comments, please.
we put everything's black on our site, and then we put out some white or some different colors, and people ask for black. But we put out black, people ask for colors.
I mean, personally,
Yeah.
I can't do the oatmeal. That's
Yeah.
that's just me. But,
I mean, I love you.
but yeah,
oatmeal's popular.
the vibes thing was really, and like, you know, one thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is leading with a servant heart. And with Goodwerks, it was never just about the business. It was never just about the money. Like, do I want to make money? Yeah, hell yeah. Like, do I want to get the car that I want to get? Hell yeah. Do I not want to have to worry about paying like where I live? Like, just have that be automatic? Hell yeah. Like that's. But the more money that we can leverage, the more help we can affect and change, right? And so Goodwerks is called Goodwerks because like I didn't want it to be just about the business. So I do raffles regularly. I try to do them regularly that benefit nonprofits. They're mainly veteran-based nonprofits. I think we're around like $100,000 raised and donated to various nonprofits. I'm gonna have one coming up. So our friend JT, Consequence of Habit. So I'm gonna be doing my first raffle nonprofit here is gonna be benefiting Consequence of Habit.
Rightfully so.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's part of it, man. Like more people that are leading and serving in their community, which is like those are the people that we want to benefit. And then we just had Few Fest, which we got a bunch of donations in for Philly Unknown, which is a huge deal, and we're gonna continue to be in contact with Britt. We have to get all that stuff to him still, but it's like leading with the servant heart is hugely important to me too. So like that's another way in which like we connected and we're able to like come together.
Yeah. That when we had that energy meeting, like that was one of the things that stood out to me. That's similar to Drew and you started a business that aligned with the impact that you wanted to have on the world.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we did.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with making money.
No, absolutely
You
not.
know what I mean? There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But in order to do that, you have to give.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Another rule
Yeah.
of the few. So having a positive impact on the people in your community and in the world is, in my opinion, much more rewarding than the money.
Yeah.
But the money follows that. You know what I mean? So
there's been, I've had people in my community post about how they've taken their bags for like their cancer treatments and they've like beaten cancer, and like seeing stuff like that is wild. There, somebody posted recently about their carry, like their EDC for their wedding, and it was a boogie bag.
It's amazing.
Like there's, and I'm seeing like one of my friends, his daughter is in the Young Marines program, and she has a M81 and it matches her BDUs, like her uniform, so she like wears that to Young Marines, and like
Amazing.
I love like seeing that is like, and my friend Meg, she just finished a 5-day adventure race in Alaska, and she had her bag with her, and like that thing is just beat to piss.
Yeah.
But it's like that's the whole point. Like I want to build a product that's going to support what people really want to do, and something that they can rely on, and at the same time build that community and have that community step up and do good things that benefit other communities. Like that's hugely important to me. For
sure.
So it's like, yeah, man, the more that I can grow that, the more money that I can get flowing, the more effect I can, the more change I can affect.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we had our meeting in April. Fast forward June 15th, 4-year anniversary of Goodwerks. The flag comes back home.
The flag
and you
is
come with
home.
it.
The flag is
And your
home, and
shop
it brought
comes
me,
with it.
and it brought me with it. Yeah.
So the flag returns.
Yeah.
Actually, since when that flag was fulfilled, we were probably in your basement, maybe.
Yeah. 2020? Or
No,
21.
It was the end of 21.
Maybe we were in
Yeah.
Cambria, maybe, or your basement. I don't know. But anyway, it came back home.
Came back home.
To our home now.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. We love having you here. There's been so much just outside of this made in America, made in the USA mission that we're on, and the mission of doing good, right? And being a force for good in the world and a positive impact on people. Outside of all of that, there's been other amazing stuff that has come from you being here.
Thank you.
Your impact on the Few Fest, which we'll talk about on another episode. You'll join us for the Few Fest. What you've brought to the team at Martinez, since you're on the team now with me there, starting jiu-jitsu again, right? Starting your journey again.
It's been amazing.
The energy that you're bringing in here every single day. You know what I mean? Not just your personal energy, but the energy of making, and creating. Products in the U.S. There's just been so much positive impact that your long distance journey to Philadelphia has brought to us. So we're grateful for you. So thank you. That's my long-winded way of saying thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
like
this
is an opportunity that's been like all the people that I'd spoken with, like all like the people that I'm close with, like before this like came to fruition. It was like, I cannot pass this. Like every now and then, like there's something in life that happens where it's like it's a crux. It's like it's a linchpin. It's that point where it's like this is a distinct fork in the road, and you need, and like the choice, like there isn't a choice, but there is, and you could do the thing that's comfortable. You could do the thing that's safe. You could do the thing that doesn't challenge you. You could do this thing that just lets you stay where you're at. You don't have to change anything, and you could just be. Or you take this opportunity that's massive. I told all my friends, like, this is a once in a lifetime thing, because we've grown to know each other more. I'll get to know Drew once we get rolling with him. That's how you learn.
Yeah,
that's really how you get to know people. But before that, it was like, holy shit, this is Fuel Hunt. Like, this isn't like a dude, a screen printing shop in a storage unit. And like, this is like a big business. Like, this is a legit group of people who have, they're getting into the fight game, who have, to me, meaningful product and meaningful message. And Drew said something on a previous podcast about, the people who wear the gear, like the few, like don't necessarily believe that they're part of the few, but they want to get there, right? And that's how I felt,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, so when this opportunity was like here,
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, like, no, I have to. And then I had a friend of mine, my friend Christy. She was like, you know, look, like you've earned your seat at the table. Like you've earned that. Like this isn't an accident.
Yeah.
It's not like chance. Like this is like, you know, this is like something that you've earned through your work. And so I was like, yeah, it is. And like it's something that needs to be continually earned. However, it was I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Like there if I would have said no, I wouldn't be in the right place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I get to come through those doors.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. For sure.
I get to come through them in the morning, like the lights coming in, and it's like it's beautiful in here in the morning, dude. It's quiet,
Yeah.
and it's gratitude.
Yeah. Place it's peaceful. Yeah, man. It's
Yeah.
peaceful. We're gonna work on getting you some more light in the evenings because you're burning the midnight oil in the back.
Yeah,
man.
we got to get those lights up.
We're gonna get you some light. It's I say this all the time, and it's becoming a quotable, but it's
just the
the
beginning.
beginning. Yeah, it's just the beginning. You know, I've probably said that. If you've said to me 100 times since you've been here, this is a sign that I'm in the right place.
Yep.
I've said to you
It's just
twice
the
as
beginning.
twice as many
It's just the
times.
beginning,
It's
yeah.
just the beginning,
Yeah.
and it really is. Let's start to bring us in for a landing.
Yeah.
We're going to have you
Yeah.
back on the show. We're going to talk Few
Yeah.
Fest, and we're going to have you back on the show also to talk about Made in America
Yeah.
and the importance of making things in
Yeah,
the USA.
absolutely.
We didn't really get to touch on that,
Yep.
But we'll have you back on
Yeah.
since you're kind of here with us.
Look,
You're here with us.
Look, I was expecting to be lauded for my commute here. Okay,
Yeah, I know, right?
It was like I had a
walked.
very arduous trek
Listen,
here.
it's 10,000 square feet. So I mean, look, yeah, I mean, there was a
It's-
little
it's
bit of a walk,
it's
I guess.
It's
was
a hard trek here.
Yeah, it
man.
was a trek.
It's tough.
So we'll have you back on. But I lost it. I lost it in that.
We're landing space.
Bring it in
We're gonna
for-
talk about
Oh
Few
yes,
Fest.
yes. So talking about thank you. So talking about it's just the beginning. Do you feel comfortable talking about maybe what's going to happen soon?
Sure.
Yeah.
So like I said,
Between Fuel Hunt and Goodwerks.
yeah. So
potentially, yeah.
like we had you know, I had stated earlier, like the goal one of the main reasons for me being here is that I now have a space that I can bring employees into, whereas before having random people in my home to work is icky.
Yeah.
Like no
Not
thank you.
preferable.
Yeah, no thank you. However, now that I have a space where I can bring people in, the goal is to really increase production and to also add more variability and more product. Eventually, I'm gonna be adding some sort of backpack, whether that's an EDC or a rucking backpack. We'll see. I've been working on thinking about getting a DOP kit going, stuff like that.
Yep.
But as far as Fuel Hunt goes, we have been talking.
We don't have to give away all the juicy details.
We're not going
but we'll
to.
just-
It'll be very in line with the Fuel Hunt aesthetic. It'll be a boogie bag. It'll be a Mark III boogie bag. I think we're gonna also work on a little bit of apparel to go with it, which I am personally like super stoked on.
Yeah.
And so I think that we're gonna have a fun little run this winter.
We are.
So and then too, like eventually, like down the line, like once I get through the tasks of getting production up and learning, because I really don't know anything about what I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out as I go. Once we get that going, then we'll start introducing stuff that is Fuel Hunt specific from Goodwerks.
Yep.
And we will have some not only made in America, made in Philadelphia,
At HQ.
made in Fuel Hunt HQ gear.
Oh, chills.
So we will
Chills.
have some high quality,
Yeah.
American made, Philadelphia made, the few made
Yes.
product.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
and then we'll work together on building.
Yeah, first one, like you said, coming this winter in time for the holidays.
Yes.
Yeah,
we will
in
have
time for Christmas.
We will have a Fuel Hunt boogie
Yep.
in ample
Let's
time.
go.
And
Let's
ample
go.
time for Christmas. Yes.
Let's go. Being a part of your community now and carrying my boogie or wearing my boogie day in and day out, I like as excited as I am for this first collaboration
Yeah.
project of ours. Like, I'm also like a little bit sad that I have to give up that first one that you
Why do you have to give it up?
gave me. Well, I don't have to give it up, but I'm going to want to wear the other one more, I think.
No.
Yeah, but
So,
you can rotate them, man.
Yeah, I can rotate them.
You can rotate them.
Get one for
And I
every
still
day of
have
the
my extra special one too.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
and being displayed, which I know you don't enjoy.
I don't. That needs to be worn, dude.
There's that bag, the tiger stripe camo.
week. Yeah.
Very special bag, and I have it on display.
Why
And I
very
told
special?
Tim can give you the.
Yeah,
the-
so I went down to the Core Medical Military Appreciation Weekend. Like, I know you guys are somewhat connected. Like, Nick and
Nick.
Johnny from Johnny Slicks. By the way, they make great products.
Yes.
If you need any hygiene products, get some Johnny Slicks.
Yeah.
So I went down to Core Medical. I've been on TRT for probably 6 or 8 months now, and it's been hugely beneficial to me. It really helps. Like, the biggest thing for me is like the mental acuity that it's helped with, and get my all my systems leveled out and everything. So I went down to the Military Appreciation Weekend because I did a raffle that benefited guys and gals who needed their blood work done. So I worked with Core Medical. We raised $11,500 as a fund, so that way veterans could get their blood tested at no cost, and they would get discounted rounds of HRT. So that way it was more accessible to them. So that has been since used. Thankfully, I'm really excited about that. Sid Gordon, the CEO, invited me down to the Military Appreciation Weekend. So I was like, I can't say no.
Yeah.
So I went down. And I met this dude named Paul O'Keefe, who has a company called Anvil's Cachet, and they make all of this. I'm not a jewelry person,
Yeah.
but they make this rad jewelry. Like, they're jewelers, and they make these really cool pieces. So I had him make me some zipper pulls out of cast casings, bullet casings, and it's his "I Got Your Six" pendant that are on them. So I only made a handful of those. And a few were sold, a few were given as gifts.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one of those things where they're the only bags that have those pulls on them. So
Yeah.
Sick.
So it's on display temporarily.
It better be temporary.
I'm going to put it to use. I'm going to put it to use.
I believe you want to see it.
We're really going to bring it in for a landing.
Yeah,
now. So tell the community where they can find you. I mean, they can find you if you want HQ, but tell them,
True. Yeah. Here's the editor.
yeah, exactly. Tell them where they can find you on social. We did enough teasing for what's coming up. So tell them where they can find you on social.
So Goodwerks, GOODWERKS on Instagram.
Yep.
I do have a Facebook presence, but I loathe Facebook, so I don't interact there. So if you have any questions, it's mainly just my Goodwerks Instagram. My website is good-works, WERKS.com.
Don't forget the dash.
Don't forget the dash.
Good-works.
Yeah,
Works with an N. Don't forget
I need
the
to.
dash.
I've been talking to spoken with those people once, and they want a
These
stack
are the
of
owner
money.
the owners of
they,
goodworks.com.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they want a stack of money. So maybe someday I'll acquire that.
Yeah. All right.
So we'll see.
We're going to put it out there.
Yeah,
We're gonna put it out to the
Instagram.
owners.
Instagram is the way you can send me a DM.
Cool.
I will answer any DM as long as it's not spam.
Got
So,
you.
Yep.
Cool. All right. It was a blast having you on. It's a blast having you here. We're going to
Thank
have you
you.
back on to talk about Made in the USA and the Few Fest. The Few Fest first this afternoon. We filmed multiple shows in a day, so it's going to be this afternoon when you come back. I'll leave the Few with a reminder. Always choose hard work over handouts. Always choose effort over entitlement. Remember, no one owns you. No one owes you. You're one of the few. Now let's hunt.
Thank you, guys.